Hello, I'm Tristram Mayhew, Chief Gorilla at Go Ape. I'm here to talk to you about my greatest inspiration, brought to you by Real Business and Orange.
Former Army Captain Tristram Mayhew founded the high-wire forest adventure Go Ape in 2002 with his wife Rebecca. 1.4 million people have now trekked from tree to tree through the forest canopy, across rope bridges, Tarzan swings and zip slides. But Chief Gorilla Tristram isn't resting on his laurels. The company currently has 21 locations across Britain, but there are plans for 40 by 2012. We asked Tristram what inspired him to start his own business.
Tristram, thank you for coming in today to speak to Real Business about your greatest inspiration.
Thank you for asking me.
Firstly, what inspired you to start Go Ape? When was the light bulb moment?
I think Go Ape was really a sort of lifestyle choice. My wife and I sat down in 2001 and decided we wanted to design the perfect lifestyle for us, and then see how we could deliver that. And I think Go Ape was the end product of that rather than the start. So we didn't set out to want to set up our own business. We just realised that because we decided we wanted our children to think we were successful, and we realised that probably the greatest metric by which that might be achieved was being at breakfast and at tea time with our kids, and realising then that tea time till the age of about 9 is about 5:30, and that no one was ever going to let us be home by 5:30, we were going to have to set up our own business. So with that, we then thought, what sort of business? And an outdoor adventure business appealed, and we felt we'd have to be passionate about it and something we could enjoy, because most people say most businesses fail or don't make much money, so you might as well do something you're happily living in poverty over. And so we started looking for something in outdoor adventure, and then luckily had a eureka moment in France where we came across a concept which we'd been looking hard enough to know it wasn't happening in the UK, and assumed it was far too much fun to be allowed to happen in the UK. And came back, and thankfully, because we didn't know it was impossible, we sort of got it going.
Do you or your wife come from a family of entrepreneurs?
No, I had no background in business at all. My grandfather ran an artist supply business stroke charity, because basically if the numbers didn't meet, go into the black at the end of the year, he'd sort of write a cheque to bail it out. And it was more about how to employ people he wanted to help out in life, rather than being set up as a real business. And that's been an inspiration on how not to run Go Ape, actually. We've wanted to be business-like, but not driven purely by the bottom line.
Who do you go to for advice? Do you have a mentor?
And what I have really enjoyed is, as you go up through different stages of your business, from start-up to sort of a bit more stability to becoming a bit more of a sort of challenger brand and being noticed and asked to do this sort of stuff, you find yourself, as you go, in our case, reluctantly entering for business awards and getting to the business award dinners and finals and stuff. Actually, the people on the other tables, the Innocent Drinks, the Howies, the Hotel Chocolats, the Cobra Beers, when those guys come up and go, really great to see you, and let's have a chat. Perhaps we can send your guys over. We'll tell you about our marketing thing. If we can come and talk to you about, can we do a team day? That's really great. And actually, people are very, very generous with their time. Angus Thirlwell from Hotel Chocolat and William Kendall, who is from Covent Garden Soups, and then Green and Blacks. We meet up quite a lot, and people are very friendly to sort of chat through things, because actually, when you get to a certain scale of business, it is reasonably unusual to still be in private hands. And people just have a shared interest. You sort of join this club you didn't really know existed, and people say, yeah, I'd love to come and talk to you. And you always think of yourself being a sort of small mum and pop shop. And then you go and look at somebody else's business and you think, well, actually, they were my sort of doyens of where we wanted to go. But in fact, they're not that much bigger than us or whatever. And I don't think we've really sort of seen ourselves grow up in the way that other people on the outside may think we have. I think they think we're bigger than we are. But we are 400 people now, so I suppose we're not completely mum and shop. As to who else gives me advice, I think Rebecca, my wife, is very good at sort of keeping both feet on the ground, which I think is incredibly important, because you can run the danger of starting to believe your own PR. And secondly, I think my brother, who joined the business nearly 3 years ago has been great. You need to have some people who aren't going to profit from the advice they give you, and you absolutely trust to talk ideas through and sound things off with and just spend some time with. And when I set up the business, my best man, a guy called Giles Braxton, who is a chartered accountant, he took a lot of time helping me sort of see that there might be something in it. It was just sort of picking figures and the models didn't really relate to what happened. But he had some faith and he gave me some confidence, and he was a proper business guy. Coming from the army, I felt lack of confidence in having any real business skills. And I think people you trust and like, rather than paid for consultants, are very important to give you some encouragement and give you some sort of unbiased sanity, I think.
What's been the best idea that you've had, or the best moment that you've had while you've run the business?
It's two sides of a coin. When you set up a business, somebody said to me, your worst nightmares or worst problems and your best problems will be people related. And that's true, because there are sometimes you have a personal people problem, and it makes you think in the early days, is this worth the candle? Because it is incredibly personal. People talk about business being your baby, and it does feel like that. And if somebody's threatening that or damaging that or whatever, you feel like they're hurting your baby. And it's odd to talk like that, actually, because I didn't think I was a sort of business guy. And in fact, I don't like being called a businessman. I call myself either an adventurepreneur or an entrepreneur, which are bad jokes, but I feel more comfortable with it. But after a while, and you get a reputation, you start attracting great people, particularly if you look after them well and give them opportunities to move on, which is why we've continued to expand, because actually if you don't expand, your best people will leave because there's nowhere for them to move up. And so it's not all about world domination. But the flip side is that once you get that right and you get that culture and a mesh of good people, then they start attracting other good people, and then you find yourself with a brilliant team which allows you to take 4 months off and go on sabbatical, which is what we're going to do at the end of this year as a family, to demonstrate that actually, A, I'm not required, and B, give them the confidence to go do, which they're doing anyway without me, and they don't need me any longer. I'm coming back, by the way. But, so that's a great thing. So I think when you say what's the best moment, I think it's really realising we've got a fantastic team around us, and it's an enormous privilege, and there are 400 of us now working together. But that's the best bit.
Do you think it's important for people like yourself to inspire the next generation?
Yeah. For me, bringing on my team and encouraging them to go and live life adventurously. So we're hoping that some of them will run the company one day, and we hope that some of them will come through and go and run their own businesses. So we do that inside, and we very much say, look, everybody in the company who's got a permanent role has, we ask them to do a training course for us in a year, but they all have, every single one of them, a budget of something like £350 to go and do whatever they want. Flamenco dancing, Spanish guitar, great. But what they have to do is invest something. So they either have to invest the time or the money. So we'll give them either time out of work to go and do it, or we'll give them the money to do it in their own time, so that they don't just go, I can't be bothered because I've invested nothing. So that's one thing. But I think by coming to talk to you, hopefully somebody out there might think, well, if that guy can do it, I certainly can. So encouraging people to take the first step. What's the worst thing can happen? You lose everything, but you can start again. You still got your health, so why not give it a go? If it would destroy you, not to try it, give it a go. And that first step is the hardest one. Once you've chucked your job in, and I felt for me it's very helpful to burn all our bridges. Have no backup, because then you can only go forward. I think people who say, well, I'm going to 2 days a week carry on as a consultant or do whatever I was doing, and then try, you're never giving it everything. You've got to live and breathe it, I think. But I think increasingly what I'm trying to do is go and talk to students who might be thinking about it, and anybody who's thinking about, I don't know what to do with my life. I say, well, go and do something you really enjoy. Don't go and do something your parents approve of.
Tristram, thank you very much for speaking to Real Business about your greatest inspiration.
Thank you, Catherine.